I can talk with them about that on
Just curious, because I've had people ask me how much of that's gonna be repaired or fixed.
Well, I mean, it'd provide a better smooth transition too, you know, I don't blame you on that. One thing to keep in mind on our patching, I think that what we've gone through thus far, we've been quite a bit under what our estimate is at this point. I'm not saying that it's not gonna go up at this point too, but, I think we are pretty low on that, and I think we're pretty low on the curb replacement. I think realistically, we're not replacing as much as we thought we might have to, so it's a good thing, you know, but at the same time, if there's something, you know, that we need them to do, just to
Yeah.
keep in mind, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, so.
Have we talked about Sumner Avenue Hill at all as far as the sidewalk or road? Has anybody talked about that, or is that just?
The curb and road and.
The one on, which one?
Sumner Avenue.
Oh, yeah, we did talk about that. I guess that's in one of the questions to Bob, is I wanted to really get an indication of what's underneath there. Just because you look at it right now, you know, structurally sound, it looks really good, Sumner itself. That curb on the I would call it the northwest side just looks terrible though. And that's really the only, you know, spot that looks that bad. And we even discussed, you know, to widen it out, would you just, you know, match that out further? Well, the only thing that scares me there is then, you know, we offset that sidewalk. Are we getting then closer to the sidewalk, kind of defeating what we were trying to do before? There's something to kind of be said there. But the curb on the opposite side looks perfect. So that's why I had to call into Bob, because I was wondering what had been done there in the past. And if you find out somebody that knows what maybe is the history of what was done to that roadway, I'd be real interested. But we could definitely add something in there.
That's what I said, I know we
Yep.
talked about the last meeting,
Yep.
just didn't know if you'd had a chance to.
And I
discuss
haven't
some
heard
of this
anything
stuff,
back
okay.
from Bob, because I do want to get some background info on that first. Okay.
You made a comment about the first contractor and the sidewalks and the curbs, intersections. Made something about a timeline or something like that, David. Is there, in their contract, is there a deadline, and then if they don't meet that deadline, there's some penalties that can be assessed against them?
Yep,
Okay.
They have a substantial completion date, and I can tell you the exact date.
Well, I just was
Okay.
wondering how the contract
Yep.
was set up.
It is set up like that. I think they could have something to say about some rain days, and give a little bit on that. I think, you know, the main intent is to try to get it done this fall. If they get close to substantial completion where they're sitting there, the one thing I really don't want, and I don't think they would want either, is that if we're not, you know, if there's a couple sidewalks you're not gonna get done, don't take them out. You know, wait until, if it's absolutely gonna have to happen in the spring and you know that.
You know, we've been that route.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, that was not a good.
Yeah, it's not fun, you know. You take it out and then it ends up being a mess, and then in the spring it's not easier to do at all either. So I think that would be something to say to them, that, you know, but you know, we'll see where they're at. Really, you know, a month from now is really going to give us, and probably 2 or 3 weeks from now is really going to give us an indication of where they're sitting at. Because I think that we're going to start probably getting some colder weather at that point, and probably going to have harder days to pour that concrete. So.
Is that a contingency that you guys usually build in with your contracts, completion dates and things like
Yep.
that? And then
Yep, we have usually what we do, and we usually do calendar days. We give them a certain amount of calendar days to complete the project. I think that's the same with this. And we actually have then a substantial completion date, which is a date that we set up in the contract, and it is in the plans and specs. That at least that's what their target, and then anything after that. And I think we have $500 a day, I think, is our.
It's just like your penalty fee?
Yep, it's
Okay.
our liquidated damages at that point. And I just wanted to know what's our completion date. October 31st is our completion date, and we give them 92 calendar days, and it's $500 a day, is liquidated damages. And I think they would have some amount of days there to say in regards to rain, but.
But Hal says it's not back this week, but it will be next week.
Yeah, I bet they'll be back next week, I would assume. Yep. And we can, that would be the thing, is if they came back with calendar days, we'd come back with probably days that you'd be off-site. But at the same time, I would rather work with them and
No,
make
absolutely.
their life
Mhm.
a lot easier with us, because I think they are doing a really good job. and I would rather have somebody that's taking their time and doing a good job than the opposite, so.
And you're documenting all that though, as
Yep.
as the project goes along?
Yep, we keep track of, rain days, in field notes, and then we also keep track of days that they're actually working. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Nothing else?
Any other questions for David?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty, we need a motion to approve a 5-day special Class C liquor license, beer and wine for the Humboldt Area Arts Council effective October 10th through 14th, 2014. Everything in order, Gloria?
Yes, it is.
Move approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And we need a motion to approve the renewal of a Class C liquor license, Sunday sales privilege and outdoor service privilege for Dennis D. McCullough, doing business as the Prowler. Everything good, Gloria?
Yes.
Move to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? On to resolutions. We need a motion to approve the following resolution number 2014-105. A resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an amended and restated development agreement by and among the City of Humboldt, Humboldt County Development Association Incorporated, and AP Air Incorporated.
This just formally accepts the agreement considered earlier in the meeting with APO.
Move to approve. Second.
Roll call vote.
Goodell.
Aye.
Scholl.
Aye.
Rusher.
Aye.
Davis.
Next, we need a motion to approve the following proposed resolution number 2014-106. A resolution approving the vacation of a parcel of land in the City of Humboldt located in Lathrop's addition to the City of Humboldt, Humboldt County, Iowa, commonly known as the 700 block of 8th Avenue South, and accepting an offer by Troy Schramm Construction of Janesville, Minnesota, to purchase said property, which is described as that part of the full width of 8th Avenue South, bounded on the west by the south extension of Block 15, Lathrop's addition to the City of Humboldt, and on the east by the south extension of the west line of Lot 5, 7th Avenue South addition, except the east 60 feet thereof, all in the City of Humboldt.
This will vacate and sell the land to Schramm for the construction of the townhomes, subject to a utility easement being recorded prior to the sale.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Scholl.
Aye.
Rusher.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Goodell.
Aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Next, we need a motion to approve the following proposed resolution number 2014-107. A resolution setting 5:30 PM on Monday, October 6, 2014 as the time and date for a public hearing to consider a disposition of sale of public property.
Nick Johnson has offered $70,000 for the lot next to the entrance sign at the airport and intends to build a hangar and storage on the property. Dave Judgen had said the airport was supportive of the sale because it'll add another aircraft to the airport and will support a local business. The public hearing would be at the next council meeting if the resolution is approved. This section was kind of split off a while ago after we did the new T hangars, 3 years ago, I think. And it's always been out there. We've formally, kind of like put it out on Lois and several other economic development things. Never really had a bite because it doesn't have utilities to it or anything like that. The only thing I would keep in mind is that it is not in the city of Humboldt. So it might be good to attach a provision that says, you waive the right to protest any annexation into the city or something like that. Because there's a huge portion of this municipal airport that is not part of the city, and it would create a kind of an odd situation if that was protested.
You're saying you can protest it not to come into city limits? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
So, I want to talk with Eric a little bit about, getting some sort of provision attached to it.
So we could annex if we needed to.
Yes.
Or wanted to. Okay.
Yes. And also just to keep in mind, you're not going to get any tax revenue off of it if it's still in the county, so. I don't know if you want to go down the route of doing an annexation before you sell the property or anything along those lines, but just things to keep in mind. And if you want, I can, we could change the public hearing, or we could. I guess we can't change the public hearing. We already went to the publisher, but we could, you
They
know.
can pull it. I
Yeah,
think they could
they
pull
can
the
pull it
notice
and
if they
and
had
we
to.
could do something else, but it'd be good to get your input right now so that I can get, or, you know, working on something if you wanna see something attached, or if you wanna annex, then, start that process before you complete a sale. And you could always put a provision into it saying, you know, the land couldn't be sold until, annexed into the city or something like that.
Is that a I'm sorry, well,
Is there a reason we wouldn't wanna annex it? I mean, is anybody, you know, is there, like, would that be a reason that the board or anybody wouldn't wanna do it there, what do you think, or?
is it a discussion that you've had with Nick? Would it, you know, negate the sale if we decided to annex it at a later time? I mean, he would not wanna go through with the sale if it was taxed as city property versus county property? Do you think?
When Dave brought it in, I told him, I said, you know, my biggest concern is the fact that we would be releasing land that is not already annexed into the city. And so I said, you know, most of what we do is based off of generating tax revenue. And so if we're giving up land and not generating tax revenue off of it, especially one that is so close to the city,
It'd
I
be
mean,
an
it's
in-
right across the street.
Are
from
the
city.
hangars at B&N, are they in city property?
I don't believe so. So it might be time, it could be time to just clean up and add a lot of the airport land and get those included.
It is kind of development corporation, almost there for city development anyway, that's.
So, voluntary annexation is the exact same process we went through with HCDA's land on, the compost site. That area, we went through that process probably about 2-3 years ago, so it's not, there's a lot of hoops for Gloria to jump through, but.
It's a lot of paperwork.
Yeah, but it's, you know, it's probably worth it in the long term.
That makes sense if it's possible.
I think we should at least talk about it,
Yeah.
you know, at the next meeting and
Yep.
to see where, you know, rather than give up the land that we can't ever get back anyway, so.
And you could delay action on you could hold a public hearing and delay action on the resolution too, until the next following meeting. We've done that on one of these before, I think. But with the Knowles property, if they come out there.
Okay. So we need a motion to go ahead, or we need a motion to? We're gonna go
Move
ahead
forward
with the
with the
motion. then,
public
are we?
hearing.
Okay. Okay, so we need a motion to set the time
So moved.
Second?
then. Roll call vote.
Rusher,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Goodell,
Aye.
Scholl.
Aye.
Then it'll be on the agenda for the next meeting, and then talk about this then for, okay.
I'm sure, we can talk and see if, Nick
You
can
could
come down.
join us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Next, we need a motion to approve the following proposed resolution number 2014-108. A resolution approving pay estimate number 1 from Fort Dodge Asphalt Company of Fort Dodge, Iowa, in the amount of $98,242.18 for the Humboldt Municipal Airport Runway Pavement Rehabilitation Project.
The project's finished and the runway is vastly improved from its state prior to the project. The coating will give the runway many more years of life before new surface is needed. The new hangar is also under construction, and Sand is confident they can meet the deadline for December when the Mid-American wants to move their helicopter to Humboldt. Helicopter will be stationed at the airport for approximately 18 months during construction of the transmission line through Humboldt County. I don't know if you haven't had a chance, if you went to the rotary flying, it was completed right before the rotary flying. It looks really nice. They did a good job of you know, addressing the cracks in the runway and whatnot. So I think a lot of real positive comments from folks that flew in for the flying.
This included some federal money though too, right?
Oh, well, it was, I think.
85%.
That's what I was wondering, so,
This was
so this
85.
$98,000,
No.
that's our 10%
No.
of the cost?
That's the whole project.
whole
That's the
project.
entire project, so we're only looking at $9,000 for,
I think the entire,
15%.
15%.
14,000.
yeah, I think the entire
Oh.
project was like
I thought
145
that,
or something.
I
It was
thought
like
the hangar was
145.
15% and the runway was only
With
10.
10.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
I'd have to look, but, yeah, it's either 10 if it's state, or 10 if it's federal, 15 if it's state.
Okay,
Maybe I've got that reversed.
so then we would release $98,000 and we would get reimbursed for the remainder from the government. Okay.
And this is what, these reimbursements, I mean, if you ever see, there's some interesting stuff that happens sometimes on that, because you'll be waiting for, like the water plant's a perfect example. You're waiting for reimbursement from the state or SRF, and so you have a huge negative, and then you get the reimbursement. And the same thing with the airport projects, it makes the treasurer's balance just jump all over the place sometimes, so.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll wait, we'll submit it for a reimbursement and then, they'll kick us a check for the grant amount.
Need a
So
motion?
moved.
Second?
Roll call vote.
Davis,
Aye.
Goodell.
Aye.
Scholl,
Aye.
Rusher.
Aye.
That's the last of our regular scheduled items. Aaron, bring us up to date on
Yep.
anything?
Just trying to check real quick. Actually got several things. Midas is looking at moving their, or building a new bus barn here for the regional transit they have out of here. And, they've been looking to identify land. One of the areas I've proposed to them was the water tower. They're gonna see if the land underneath the water tower, possibly doing a very extended lease with them for that land so that, many, many, many years. The North Water Tower, not your house. Not building next to your house. I hope you don't mind the extension on your garage. So the,
Building between Walt,
Yeah,
Yeah,
there
fill
you
in.
go.
It's a little fill.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
just use Walt's garage.
So the building's about 4,000 square feet, and it looks like the footprint fits in there. They're coming up to take a look at it tomorrow and walk it, see if it's something they're interested in. They need to apply for a grant to build the building. Would generate no tax revenue for the city. It's more of the fact that we have land and they need land to provide something the city pays for, so, I guess that's one thing I wanted to run by you guys. Am I speaking out of turn by talking about the water tower? Is that something that the council supports?
We don't really wanna give up a good lot.
No.
One that we developed and paid money for that we can sell.
Not really, you
Like I
could
say,
do
we get
much
nothing,
under
we
the
get
water
nothing
tower.
for it, it takes it off the tax roll, so it'd be an excellent place, really.
It is a little tight. They might have to pay to move one of the lights, probably about 15 feet, move it in.
Could they move it on top of the building?
I don't know. I mean, that's something that they'll have to pitch. I'm
Could they
guessing-
eliminate the light, period? Let's just not light it up.
Really did turn out great anyway, so.
That would make a lot of people happy,
Yeah.
just not have the lights.
I'll leave that decision for you guys. So I need to find out what their footprint is
Yep.
before we even know what the issues are. I talked with the engineer about what's underground, and he said, most of everything that's underground is right down the center, heading straight from the street to the water tower. And so there's, the electrical service is coming in that way, the water's coming in that way. And so, off to the west